bankruptcy lawyer, and the question today is, if I have to file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, what would the trustee take from me, and what of my property and assets would I be allowed to keep? That question is determined by the exemption statutes, and although most bankruptcy law is federal and the federal law usually overrides the state law, the exemption statutes is one of the rare areas where the federal government deferred to the local states. So the list of assets that you're allowed to keep in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and remember we're talking Chapter 7 only because in a Chapter 13 the trustee doesn't take any of your assets if you get your payment plan approved and you successfully pay all the payments on your debt repayment plan over the long 3 to 5 year time period. So we're talking Chapter 7, but the list of items that are exempt from taking are determined by state law, and the state laws vary in every state. I practice law in California, so what I'm going to do in the next few minutes is do a brief overview of the most important things that are on the California list of exemptions. If you live somewhere other than the state of California, you're going to need to check the statutes in your state, and I'm sorry, but there's just no way I could cover all those in a 5 or 10 minute briefing on exemptions. So I'm going to go on and do the California exemptions, and if you live outside California, you may want to skip the rest of this tape. In California, a state where the legislature just seems to celebrate complexity in every area of the law, we have two different long lists of exemption items, and you must select all of one list or all of the other list. You cannot pick and choose items between the two lists. The first list starts at California Code of Civil Procedure section 704.010, and the second set of exemptions starts at California Code of Civil Procedure section 703.140. Let's look at 140 briefly, or the 704 set of exemptions briefly first. The 704 set of exemptions is the one that most people take if they own their own home and they have a significant amount of equity in their home, that is, value in their home over and above what's owed on the mortgages, the first and second, if there's a second. If there's value in your home, that's called over and above what you owe on it, that's called equity. And if there's equity in your home, you're probably going to choose the 704 set of exemptions because it has the largest exemption for equity in your house. Now, if you want to keep the house and you want to reaffirm the debt, then we also have to look at, is the trustee going to try to take the house, sell it, pay off the mortgages, and recoup excess equity in the house. So it's very important to determine how much the house is worth now and how much is owed on the house. If there is value in the house over and above what's owed on it, that equity, some of it is exempt, and how much is exempt under 704 varies with who you are and what your living situation is. So for example, if you are a single person and no one is living at home with you, you have an exemption for $50,000 worth of the equity in your house. But if you're a married couple or you're head of a household and you have at least one other person living in your home that doesn't own a part ownership interest in the house, then your equity exemption goes up to $75,000. And if you're over 65 years old or you're disabled, your equity exemption goes up to $150,000. Also, if you're over the age of 55 and you're very low income, your equity exemption goes up to $150,000. In the 703 set of exemptions, on the other hand, your homeowner's equity exemption is only $20,275. So if you have a large amount of equity in your house, you're probably not going to pick the 703 set. It's pretty much the one that we use for people who either don't own a home and they rent the place where they live, or their house has lost so much value that they no longer have any equity or very much equity in their house. The upside to the 703 set, though, is because they know they're not going to give you a big exemption for the equity in your house, they give you a wild card exemption. And they say, this $20,275, which you could use to exempt equity in your house, and another $1,100 on top of that, if you don't use it to exempt equity in your house, you can use it as a wild card, and you can apply it to any other property items you own which might not otherwise be exempt, and you can claim those as exempt. You only get the wild card exemption in the 703 set of exemptions. What about vehicles? Well, under 704 you get an equity exemption for $2,550 worth of the equity in one vehicle. Now if you owe money on your car, or if your car is very old, that's okay. But if you've paid your car off, you may have a problem because that may not be enough equity exemption. Under 703 you only get $3,300 worth of equity exemption in one car, but you have the wild card and you may be able to cover excess equity in your vehicle using the wild card, or maybe even extra vehicles that you have. It's always irritated me that the state legislature didn't understand that most married households need at least 2 cars so that the husband and the wife can go to 2 different jobs during the day and earn a living. And they haven't provided sufficient vehicle exemptions in the code, in my opinion. Your household goods are all exempt under 704, and again your household goods, your clothing, your food, all exempt under 703 also, as long as no particular item has a value of more than $525. Your pensions are exempt, retirement funds, your IRAs are exempt, but only up to a little over $1 million. 1 million, I think it's 95,000. And that's the same under 704 and 703. You have an exemption for tools of the trade under 704. It's $6,750, which can be doubled if there's a husband and a wife and they both work in the same business. Under 704, you also have an exemption for the equity in one commercial vehicle, and that's $4,850, and that can be doubled if it's a husband and a wife and they both work in the same business. Tools of the trade under 703, the equity exemption is only $2,075. But there again, you do have some potential wildcard exemption that you could add to that. Public benefits like workman's compensation, insurance, Social Security, disability, unemployment benefits, those are all exempt under either 704 or 703. Under 704, again, you get no wild card because you're getting potentially the large equity exemption in your house. Under 703, you have the wild card, and so if you have other items that would not ordinarily be exempt, like a small boat or a motorcycle or an ATV or an extra car, many times you can save that item and get to keep it and not have the trustee take it if you're able to use the 703 set of exemptions. Now look, picking the right set of exemptions for you is tricky business, and you've got to get it right or you may lose some of your assets, or at the very least have a long drawn out hassle with the bankruptcy trustee while you finally get your exemption claims declared on your paperwork properly. So my recommendation is that you see a lawyer when you prepare your bankruptcy petition and you claim your bankruptcy exemptions. If you need help, I'm around. If you have to file a bankruptcy, God bless you and good luck. Bye.